Capital FM, the talk leader.
Welcome back, and of course still on your nation's talk leader this afternoon. The name is Serena, and of course with my guest for this afternoon we're talking all things to do with the world of tech, and of course slipping in a side of business. When we talk about technology, our topic for this afternoon is localized software platforms for African businesses. Now we are not just talking Zambia, we are talking African businesses, and of course my guest is in the studio, and of course he is no other than Mr. Blessed Jason Mwanza. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the listeners.
How are you doing?
Well, I am great, and yet to find out how I'll be, depending on how many stay tuned out there.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot.
Perfect. Then I'll be perfectly fine after the show.
Amazing. So, of course, today we're talking about all things to do with tech. I know this is something that has been pending, right? And, of course, speaking of businesses and business platforms with regards to technology, I think there's a lot that we need to engage in. We're living in, let's say, a more technological era now. A lot of people are coming up with apps, a lot of people are coming up with different platforms. Even Facebook, our social media platforms, are places where people can get to put in their businesses, whatever business it is, and just get to implement that side of tech in whatever they do. And of course, for you, who is the founder of Brave Lender Software Technologies, I know for you all those things are minor compared to what you can do for us. So just give us a bit of your background in the world of tech.
Thanks a million. So I think my background in the field of technology began as a passion. You know, the little dreams that children do have to say, I want to be an innovator, I want to be a scientist. Because of exposure to reading, I learned reading a little bit later, after 15, I think, self-taught most of it. I used to spend most of my time in the library, so I could spend time reading the old encyclopedia books on space, technology, rocks, and all this. So that exposure really kind of gave a view, a perspective, a future of, and questions of what can be possible. And then, you know, the curiosity is actually what drove my entire career in the software development. At a time when I was still in high school, actually, that's when I began exploring software development. That was in 2014 when our country introduced computer science as one of the compulsory subjects, which was a really good thing, and it has had a positive impact, because if you look at the most of the important governmental platforms right now, they're locally built, and it just tells you what the future looks like. And spanning from my high school, actually one of the first programs I had built was a music lyrics streaming platform. You see, with the initial desire to solve problems, I stumbled upon a question, you know, I can stream music in other languages, in English, from all these other countries, and then the question arose, why can't I stream music in my own local language? And that was the birth of the first idea and technology that I implemented, ZM Lyrics, at the time in roughly 2017-18, when I was still in high school. And it really got some traction, surprisingly, and a lot of users adapted onto that. So that was the first venture, and it just boosted everything after that, to the level where now I started looking at what other problems can I solve, and it's what led to the actually founding of Brave Lender, initially as a loan system, because I had a colleague of mine who was running a microfinance business, and he was having challenges. You know, his employees were stealing from him. He could barely know how many people are paying, because, you know, as a business you're handling a lot of transactions at once, and using paper anyone can easily give wrong figures and report. So there was no credibility in the information that he was getting. And upon observation of that, you know, being a single person, I was like, okay, why can't you have something or a tool that can answer your business problems specifically based on what you face, and give you the information that you need to progress as a business? And that's where Brave Lender was born. And roughly after that, I think, still growing, just to sum it up, later on, after high school, after 2018, I dove deep into the software development space. I could actually save up money from school. When they gave me money to go to school, I'd go at a cafe, I would work, of course, and then go at the cafe, research on how to write code and all of these things. And after high school, it became even worse now, I can say. It was more of an addiction, but just a passion, to be precise. And well, after that, I joined the Microverse team, I think under the Hackers in Residence program. It was a special program for pre-selected people here in Zambia, where we got trained to study software engineering with an institution in California. And during that training also, that's where, because as people learn these technology skills, there is also the business aspect of it. There's the people aspect of it. There is a lot involved. So during that program, at least I got to get the knowledge that I needed in order for I myself to know how to build tools that not only I can understand as a technology-minded person, but the individual, how do you build tools that impact people? How do you build tools that users, a layman, can adopt and use to find value?
Wow. That's amazing. If you are someone that is out there and you are passionate about technology, then be a part of the conversation. This is no ordinary technology conversation. We are with someone that, in my opinion, is an expert. Really, you're an expert to us, because honestly, you've mentioned your passion for it and how it started. And honestly, when I think about it, there's so many young boys, even young girls now. It's really a diverse environment out there that are into tech. We're seeing tech hubs, and we're seeing so many kids being involved. I think for me that's what I love, because when I was growing up and I would see my brothers trying to get dad's laptop, we would be shouted at.
Yes, actually.
But then I feel like these days it's like kids are even being given their own laptops.
Yes,
and I'm like, you are so lucky.
Yes, they know how to use the tools better than parents now. So
for real, it's so true. So be a part of the conversation. The number is 0773 792475. That is 0773 792475. Now, getting back to it, Blessed, let's talk about what exactly do we mean when we say software development. I know these are terms that you, as our expert for today, you understand, but then we're trying to reach a wider audience. And even before we get to understanding how we can implement these platforms in business, we need to understand what exactly we're talking about. Yeah.
Precisely. Thank you. So when it comes to software, I know it's a term that can be vague at times, but basically what we're talking about is the apps, the Facebook, the things we click on the screen. How do you make them? So it turns out, just like you have French, just you have laws to that form up a political environment. In software, we have programming languages, or a way on how you can speak to a computer in order for it to do what you want it to do. And we know that these things are virtualized. By that we mean it's basically just light, different lights changing on the screen as you see to give you the colors that you need. So at a basic level, or high level rather, instead of taking it at basic level, when it comes to software, we're looking at the instructions that someone writes that a computer can understand to produce the results that they desire. Excuse me. So when it comes to software in an overview, we're looking at people who spend time learning different, because computers also have languages. The way we type in Word, the English language, there's a way you can type in a computer in a way that and make it do certain things, change the way things flow. You see, so there are people who have a keen interest, of course, in the field. A lot of young ones are rising up right now, which is really beautiful.
Right.
They want to know, how can I talk to a computer? How can I make a computer do what I want? Through that, and as you can see virtually, the possibilities are limitless, because what that provides is the only limit that you have is imagination. Whatever it is that you can imagine, literally, if you can see it virtually in your mind, you can project it on a computer, and the results of that is all these beautiful solutions that we have. Different problems that we face. So just to sum it up, in terms of software, it's a set of instructions that someone's write in a language. They have to learn it, of course. In a language that a computer can understand. They write that set of instructions to do certain things at a basic level, just that. So those instructions are what are called software. When you download your Microsoft Word, some people wrote all these instructions. Say, okay, when someone clicks this, you should show these colors there and there. And those instructions, they form up an application, what we call a software in this case.
That's really amazing. When we think of all these apps and whatnot, I always wonder the deeper concept behind it. And when you've talked about the imagination, and you're saying one's only limit when it comes to technology is the imagination.
It's just your imagination.
I'm just imagining this whole bigger thing, and just now heading in a different direction. Blessed, we're living in a time where, yes, it's amazing that we can see people creating all these apps, developing softwares, of course, but then we are seeing people being scammed off these platforms. So even as we get to now talking about getting businesses onto these platforms for Africa, let's tackle how these apps, these platforms can be made safer. People have even been hacked on platforms as simple as Facebook. You have your page, people are being scammed in different ways. What's your take on that?
Thank you. So I think this is a quite rampant topic right now. I can say it's moving up and down the road. And it's a huge topic, more especially if you look at the fact that the rising technologies right now are fintech. They involve money and all those resources. Primarily, the reason why we're having such kind of cases is because of illiteracy. People being unaware of how these tools work. I remember when you were in high school, they could tell you, no, don't use your phone and all these things. Now you're only learning these things when you're an adult. Someone just tells you, click this link, you click it. And that, the shunning away from technology kind of expanded the ignorance and created this information gap that we now have, and the ripple effects of that are these scams that we're having, because people were not made aware of how these things work. Because once they are aware, then we can know, they'll be able to easily spot, on this device you easily do this, on this app you can only do this. If someone is telling me to do this, we know that this is a scam or something like that. So in short, to handle that issue, the first thing that we have to look at, and which is currently happening, excuse me, I'm assuming, not only assuming, but it is, because ICT now is being promoted a lot. We're seeing a lot of girls and also parents being educated. A lot of programs are out there. And also the way on how we are helping do this is by, not enforcing, but kind of promoting adoption of technology platforms. Because by doing so, we allow people to adapt and learn how these tools work to avoid being misled. So issues of scam are issues that my own parents have faced, actually. And actually, it's not because of technology on average, it's because of people's lack of understanding on how these technologies and tools work.
But in as much as we may get to educate even our parents to say, listen, if someone is asking you to do this on this platform, then it's not right. The question still remains for those people that are continuously doing this. I mean, how can we work towards apprehending them? Because even as we get to producing more platforms, I feel we'll still get more people getting scammed. And I actually spoke to a brilliant gentleman. He's come up with an app, and of course he's created a system to prevent people from being scammed on his app, which is what we need. But then there's still scams happening, So from your point of view, as someone who knows a lot about technology, how can we now get to getting those people finally brought to books? Because I know someone that put in the effort to call Zicta. I was scammed, do this, do that, and well, to today nothing has been done.
Precisely.
What's your thought on that?
Okay, so we spoke of one component of what leads to scams, which is social engineering, what I just described. And then we have these now technical faults that I can say, and also people who are aware of these things. Now the question here that you pointed out, which is quite critical and important, is how do we prevent this, in as much as we are aware of what's causing this? So sensitization, we can say we are doing that. We're doing a level based. Okay, so for example, we have a platform now. Okay, Zicta has a platform as a shortcode that you can dial to be able to report the numbers that are scams. That in itself increases the rate at which Zicta and all these authorized institutions can be able to catch up with people who continuously, scam citizens and other people. So in that regard, one of the best ways we can do is by developing, solve the problem of scam, is by developing technologies that enforce what we call two-factor authentication. In this case, if you notice nowadays, when you log into your Facebook, one of the things that you'd have to add is your email and your phone number, meaning every time you want to log in on a new phone, okay, a message will be sent to your phone for you to confirm. If someone else got your password and your username, they want to log in on a different computer, they won't be able to proceed unless if they confirm with a text message that have been sent to your phone. So by default, if all the apps that we develop or systems that we develop on authentication, or when people want to log in into those systems, if two-factor authentication is enabled there, what we call two-factor authentication, authenticating, allowing someone to log in two different ways at the same time, before they can have access to the systems. That in itself will also increase the chances, or rather reduce the chances at which we're receiving these scams. We're looking at platforms that are being developed to mitigate this. Of course, we spoke of reporting. Also, we need more public tools that can allow people to put out this information. The way things work in computers, you realize that we rely on data on average. So if we have more platforms, actually, we were discussing this around the tech hubs that we have here with a lot of curious citizens around and young ones, on how can we develop platforms that allow people to report all these incidences. By drawing patterns into how people are scammed, you are able to prevent future scams. I don't know if you've used your phone, these true callers, and then you receive a number telling you this might be a scam.
Yeah.
Yes, that's because a lot of people have reported that this number is a scam. So the more people report, the more data you have, the higher chances you prevent that person from scamming other people. And nowadays we have enforced SIM registration. Okay, so, and we're looking at the digitalization of NRSs, which is coming on board as well.
Yeah.
So with that, meaning it will be, you will have less incidences where people will be using other people's NRSs to register their SIM cards. And with SIM card registration now, if we report a number that's it's maybe someone has scammed you, Zigta will look up, they'll be able to know the person of that number, and they can proceed with taking the legal actions moving forward. So just building more tools that enforce security at authentication level, as well as platforms that enable people to report these cases.
Wow.
Because it's from that data that we can draw patterns. At the end of the day, people are psychologically driven. It's from that data that we can draw patterns again and write softwares that can be able to say, okay, if a number or if someone is saying these words in a message, high chances there is scam. Yes.
Amazing. So on that note, I guess we should all become whistleblowers and not just
That's
ignore it when a number sends you something saying, this is Airtel money, whatnot, and the next thing they're calling you, asking you to refund them. I think we should all, instead of I know I've seen people turn it into a joke and call back the person, whatnot, and then after that forget about it. But let's continue to report these numbers, I guess.
Precisely.
And just get them really reported, and hopefully eventually that person gets blocked off, right? But on that point, just on the same point of I would like to believe that's one of the faults of the technological era, scammers, right? So would you still say fintech is the best solution going forward?
Oh, well, money drives the world. I don't know if you're the person who believes in the Bible, it's very clear.
And of course, you can as well explain for us fintech for the listeners. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Money runs the world. It's the fuel of everything. So as I wanted to mention, to say, if you come from a Christian background, you realize that the Bible mentions something very important. Money answers all earthly things. Now, away from that, back to tech stacks. You see, fintech is so elemental to everything. Why we're saying so is because trade at its essence involves money. So for us to be able to trade in the current world, we need to be able to move money efficiently and easily. We used to queue up. Now we no longer queue up. I can run an entire business in my room. And actually, Brave Lender right now, we've decentralized ourselves. We're no longer operating in an office, but we're still able to offer services to people and offer business solutions to people without ever having an office. The reason why we're able to do that is because there've been this revolution in how money is moved. So fintech is basically financial technology. How we're using technology to ease the processes that are involved in transacting, collecting, and giving out money. So fintech right now, it's what we need actually. Because why am I saying so? If you look at the global market, let's compare our friends out there. For you to do most of the things, you don't need to carry cash around you. That's increased security. If I have a pin in my head, for someone to get it out, there's a lot involved. But if I have cash in my hand, someone just have to beat me and then they get the cash. So fintech comes in now to solve those issues. If you look at what Airtel Money, MTN, and all these other mobile money in a nutshell has done, it's almost magical. You see, because unlike before, time was something that we really wasted. But with the introduction of fintech, we're able to automate most of these things and buy more time, meaning we are more productive now. What technology basically enables us to do is create a platform that enables us to focus on things that help humanity civilize. See? And we have, when we have these things sorted out, when we have technology platforms or tools that help us focus on what matters more, we save, of course, time or money at the end of the day, and we civilize at a faster rate. So fintech is the core of that, because for businesses to run, for innovations to run, you need funds to circulate instantly, quickly. You need financial understanding. You need, to have all these financial insights of what's happening instantly before you can even make a decision. So that data also has to be accurate. Achieving accuracy is very difficult if you have a lot of people manually involved in the process. And with the introduction of financial technology, we're able to do this at a faster rate. Meaning people now don't have to worry about how do I add 1 + 1 to get my results? How do I do my balance sheet? That information is repetitive, and what it does, it brings about degradation in human civilization. and we can continue remaining I don't know, a fourth world country or something like that.
I'm starting to get the feeling that we should make this program, because you're mentioning so much, and I'm thinking of so many directions that we can take this conversation in, and really there's so much that people need to understand when it comes to technology. Like, it just can't be a once-off conversation, because it drives everything that we do.
Precisely.
We wake up and the first thing that we do is grab our phones in the morning, which is a bad habit, but it's what people do. But away from that, probably we'll talk about that later. But on that note, as we get to closing of this program, right, we're still talking about localized software platforms for African businesses. Now, kindly define for us what we mean when we say localization in technology, because I know it seems like it's a small word when we're talking about this, but then it's bigger, So please elaborate on that for us.
Thank you so much. So the reason why actually, and this is a perfect topic for us as Africans and as Zambia to be specific. You see, you have more wealth when you own resources, okay? And almost everything Africa has, it's not ours. Okay, but if you look at the trends of where we're going right now, how we're civilizing, I'm really glad to see how much we are pushing the boundaries and starting to create our own tools, resources, and solutions. So when we speak of localized, we're looking at solutions that are actually solving our problems within our environments, the way the problems are like affecting us. Just a few years back, the people who designed the ZRS system were foreigners. But now we had our own students, our own people develop that platform. Where I work at Propest, where the company here is a Zambian company by Zambian people. We've developed Inima, Smart Zambia, and all of these tools. Those are locally developed platforms. And what that means is the funds, the resources we'd have used, to pay for a service that you can consume from an outside world can still remain circulating within the country. And as a result, what you have is economic power, the ability to dictate at how much do you sell this service. So moving forward into the future, this actually flows in almost all aspects of economics, I can say. If more especially at a software level, if you notice right now, the biggest countries that we have, or the powerhouses that we have, rely on technology. Without technology in them, they're nowhere. So how do we gain advantage of the future as Africans or as Zambians? The first thing that we can notice here as capital is software. Why? Because everything is automated, everything is run by software. Everything where we're moving right now, who knew I can get my phone to summarize an entire PDF for me in 1 minute? Or just a few seconds actually. Okay, so buying time, all of this, for us to use these tools or resources or innovations, we would have to export money outside, then it's a burden on our economy at large. But if we can focus more on building our own tools, we have an economic power at our hand, and wealth, continued generation of wealth, because we are talking about supplying resources, technology, software products to the outside world. The Microsoft Word we use when you buy the Microsoft Word program, the money does not come here in Zambia, you see? So we want our own kids, our own children, our own people to be able to develop softwares that answer local problems, faced by local people, in a way that those solutions yield value. So because the reason why we're saying that is we have a best understanding of ourselves because we go through these things. And when we do that, apparently it turns out that these tools, when you develop local centered solutions that are tailored to our own problems, it turns out to be that inherently other people also tend to face the problems. A good example is what we've done with Bravelender, for example. Bravelender was developed, like I mentioned earlier, from a problem that a colleague faced. It was unique. We have a lot of microfinance software, but his particular problem was unique, and he needed a software that can answer that problem for him to pay for it, or for his progress, or for his business rather to go forward. And when we looked up on all these outsourced softwares from outside the world, they answered their unique problems. Why? Because here in Africa and in Zambia, those guys develop softwares that are relative to the technology level advancement over there. But here, when we're building a software, put into consideration, we have mobile money. They won't put mobile money in their softwares. But here you put all these services integrated into the platform. And you use the language that the people here understand. What that means is information is being tailored, and it fosters understanding. With understanding, you are looking at improved decision making.
Of course.
Yes. So all these are advantages of what we get when we localize our software, from economic power to having an advantage, and control of our own products. And like that, innovation is faster and easy. You don't have to wait for someone in America to come here or Europe to come here to change a program just to alter a software to work in a certain way.
Right.
But if you have people locally, it's efficient for you to just call someone there within your environment. We need this to be changed to be like this.
Definitely, and it really does interest me how many of the amazing technologies that we use on a daily basis are made from outside of Africa. Just speaking of our phones, most of us speak of having phones from China, US, and I'm really hoping that we can get to that point as Africa and Zambia, of course, where we can get to being so advanced that we make our own phones. I have a feeling people won't trust those phones, but no, I really feel we can get there, with brilliant minds such as yourself. And it's leading me to think, blessed to say, I know you're one of the people that is doing your part when it comes to technology. You created this amazing business that you have, Brave Lender. But then with when it comes to, let's say, the government and the country as a whole, let's bring it back home. Let's bring it back to Zambia, because I would like to believe that it takes each and every single country in Africa actually developing to a certain point for us to effectively collaborate on this move as a continent. So what can we do, as the Ministry of Technology, and of course we have our minister there, what do you think they should implement? Because I know we've been seeing these small developments here and there. We can see the curriculum for schools, we can see more technology now, but then I feel those are minor things that would get us there in the far future, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
Actually, we shouldn't even go that far because we are late already on the track line. I think, not only I think, but what should be done, if you can observe, is we need to support more of practical innovations. Okay, if you look at it's good, of course, to draw lessons from people who've done it before, okay, and innovate on that. It's what China's done. So if you look at the outside world, what does it do? We can learn something there. They promote practical solutions. They help kids, young ones, including adults alike, okay, who are able to innovate, bring about practical solutions. They help them, they provide the resources and platforms to help those people manufacture, back to manufacturing and owning our own products. So I think the Ministry of Technology itself, we shouldn't get too much involved in just writing memos and writing all these policies that actually don't even results.
Touched a whole different area.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, that are all used in meetings and all that, and then we are done once we do the paperwork and the meetings and the interviews. If we are to really add impact to our own country and leave a legacy for our children and generations to come, for Africa especially, we need to focus on acting. Okay, promote more programs that allow kids, young ones and adults alike, to innovate. So what we mean by that is we shouldn't, like I mentioned, we shouldn't just be writing statements. No, we are honored, we did this, yes, but what value has that added to the economy, to the country? Okay, so when also promoting different ICT programs, when you're investing, are you investing in innovation that focuses on practical creativity, okay, or you are investing in innovation as a word? So I think we need to get more practical. The Ministry of Technology has to allow and give room to people who are able to demonstrate, okay, through practical innovations, their ability to create solutions. We've got a young kid who was able to turn containers into fuel. That story will just go on Facebook and just like that,
and
it will disappear.
Will die out with the crowd.
And with that mindset, it has taken us nowhere. We can learn something from our generation. And we're speaking of innovation here. When we're speaking of innovation, before we can even innovate, we have to understand the problems that are there. And the major problem that we have as a nation is a mindset issue around where to place value. And we are so centered on ourselves that we don't look at the future. So if we are at all to help the future progress, okay, or if we have to help our children be in a better environment, we have to be open-minded. Okay, allow for more practical way to be promoted.
That's really interesting,
so
honestly.
Yes, less theory, more action, more investment in action programs that promote actions. Kids who are able to do robotics. We have technology hubs. Of course, we had developer circles as part of the leads for that program. But now we have other emerging, like Asikana for networks programs. We shouldn't just have all these programs, right? What we need to do is support. In this program, what have these people built? Is in manufacturing where the power is, where innovation is. What have these people built that can help the country? Or these people have just been writing reports of saying they learn this, they know this. That's what the difference is.
Interesting. I did mention that you've brought in a different aspect. Funny enough, actually, because this past week I was talking to a number of people, but then this was more on the side of health, right? Because a number of youths have been saying that the problem is there's so much policy and not enough implementation.
Precisely.
Another person said, no, the policies are fine, but yes, we do still need more implementation. Others were saying, let's even do away with certain policies, because why are they there when we're not seeing anything being done?
Precisely.
So you now bringing that conversation to technology has just sparked something in me to say it's in different areas of the country where people are saying policies are so many, but then we want to now see those policies being implemented. And let me just get your thoughts just as we're closing out. Like I said, the education curriculum was revised, and of course we're seeing that according to what was written in that document, and of course, like you said, the memos that have been published, they've advocated for increased use of technology in schools. Now, I do know that even before that, there's quite a number of private schools that were already using computers, had kids in classrooms that had access to computers at any point that they want or that they need it for a particular lesson, right? But then what do you feel actually needs to be implemented, like in terms of specific training? Like you said, let's get practical about it. I know in my day in primary school I learned the basics of it. If anything, we would go to a computer lab to honestly play games.
Yes.
I won't even lie to you, that's what we did at my primary school, and it was a private school. So it leads me to think that in as much as they've pushed for that, and of course we're seeing certain schools now getting more access to computers, but then it's like we can have those computers, but then what sort of teachers do we have, and what are the kids being taught? Is it something that is going to benefit the nation? Like, for example, coding, are they learning to develop apps? Let me not even touch too much. Your thoughts on that?
you just put it out, the keyword there. What we need is programming. Programming is the future. It is now. It's the past, recent past, of course, but it has shaped everything we are, because programming itself is the focal point, the foundation of everything. I interact a lot with students. It's a shame to tell you that a student graduating from UNZA with a computer science degree right now cannot build it's something like Facebook.
Wow.
It's a shame. But we have people who are, out of curiosity, learning coding, are able to develop softwares. I work with the company right now in US. But the funny thing is, those guys, I noticed the environments outside there. I said we can learn something from these people. Okay, they value more practical work. So I think schools, in as much as they're introducing computers, right? What they computers, ICT. It shouldn't be what is a computer only. No. Teach kids how do you make a website. That's where the innovation comes in. Look at ChatGPT. It's nothing to do with hardware. It's all coding and programming. So we need to start, teaching programming with from primary, in short.
Right.
If the government can introduce programming from primary level, you'll be shocked at how many kids will be able to come up with innovative solutions that will sell to the world and provide income for the nation. So I think programming is one of the key elements. Then it comes to like we mentioned before, okay, those kids who are able to show some interest and show practicality in innovation, who are able to express their ideas through software, they can now be highlighted, promoted, and allowed to advance. Creating industries that promote more of creation of such. So you spoke of, just, I know like we're in the interest of time here, but you spoke of the manufacturing of mobile phones and all this. You see, if I like Shenzhen, the place in China, where they just assemble, they get technology from all these places and put it together. It doesn't matter either you're at primary level. The phones we use, like these small Airtel, MTN phones that we get, that's grade 5 homework work for these guys. So it shows exactly what being practical can bring to the table. And I think financing more of these elements with attributed results, of course, not just on paperwork and media, would really be beneficial to the generation to come. So programming.
Amazing. I think the future can be really bright, honestly. If we have, let's say, even these conferences that you said, these tech hubs and whatnot, let's have actual action come out of that. I think we get, most of the times I've seen that we have these things happen, these tech hubs and whatnot, and oftentimes we're able to get statistics of that, award a few people, get awards, whatnot, which is brilliant. Let's award the people that are doing the most, but then let's as well make it for the nation. Let's make it something bigger that could develop the nation. And on that note, let me get your closing remarks. Of course, we are at the closing of this interview. So on that note, blessed Jason Mwanza, what would be your closing remarks for today's conversation?
Well, I wish if we had enough time, but I'm sure we'll have another one. This has been very interesting. So I think my closing remark on this topic is, the future of Zambia is entirely in children right now. And we as adults, as parents, we have to be able to spot the talent in kids who are innovative and connect them to the right people who share attributes that can allow for them to be innovators of the future. Because what that does, it creates independence, and it will help us as a nation in the long run. Unlike before, what we used to do when we see a kid is being too innovative, we shun them away, let our kids explore. And we as individuals, adults, of course, alike, let's invest more in building solutions for the nation, unlike wanting to export ourselves to the outside world. Let's build for Africa. Thank you.
Let's build for Africa. I like that. That should be a trend. That should be a hashtag.
Yes, actually.
Let's build for Africa, and it could really go beyond the aspect of technology, but then in many aspects. Well, on that note, obviously, let's have another interview sooner rather than later, and of course, we can further this conversation around technology, and hopefully, we can get more people on board, more stakeholders. In this case, of course, the Ministry of Technology to come through and get such ideas. You have brilliant ideas, and we get to now implement them and be practical about it, like you mentioned. So on that note, thank you so much, blessed Jason Mwanza, for coming through today.
Thank you, and thank you to our listeners. I hope they stay tuned again.
Amazing. And of course, do stay tuned. We do have another program coming up. Now, this is our usual program for the hour of 15, coming up much later, as I did mention earlier. And of course, it is that time. So in case you have been waiting, then do be a part of the conversation. The number that you're using to get through to the studio today is 0773 792 475. That is 0773 792 475. My name is Serena, and of course, I have been with Blessed Jason Mwanza today in the studio for our interview. Now, this one was around the area of technology and how we can build localized technology platforms for African businesses. Stay tuned as we do get into our next talk for the day.